Hey, listen, welcome back. Welcome back, fellas, to day two. Man, the day one was just a phenomenal day. An opportunity to really peel back the layers, open up what we've been ignoring, not wanting to look at, taking a really deep look at the things that we know. Oh, man, finally, we have an opportunity to hit the reset button. So, welcome to day two of the silence, rising from silence, right? Your silence is not just strength. You know that silence I'm talking about. So, I'm Jeff Tyson, affectionately known as the Comeback King, and your host for these next 5 days. For those of you that don't know, and I want to thank Comeback King Enterprises for putting this together. And I want to welcome those of you who have been stopping in and out day one and day two and challenge you as always. And first, ask for permission. I always like to, before we get started, kind of just settle in and make sure that you know you're in the right place and who this thing is for and how it's going to go. And so how it's going to go is it's going to be a conversation between you and I, right? And I'm going to ask permission to show up and be who I am authentically, right? And hopefully that you will embrace that in a way that you know that I hear you. What might feel like a push, what might feel like a tug at you is intended through empathy, right? An empathetic reach to you. Because I know what it feels like. I talked about it yesterday, right? You know, and being honest with yourself for a second. I always like to ask that question. So we're going to do it again. So let's get honest with ourselves. I'm talking about that gentleman or man or person that's in a relationship or in a marriage and is in a relationship that you're really working on, right? I'm not talking about you on ones you're playing games with or ones that are just kind of, you know, creating the chaos and things that you really are accustomed to with you. That's what you want. I'm talking to the fellas who really are serious about stepping into the next level in a relationship that means something to you, a marriage relationship that's leading towards marriage that really means something to you. And like me, we kind of always got in the way of it and thinking it was something else, blaming it on communication, thinking I had a communication problem or a listening problem, but really it was something much greater than that that we talk about in these 5 days, right? And help rise from the silence. That technique that we use, right? Listen, listen to me when I ask this. So you tell yourself, I don't want to yell, I don't want to fight, right? When things are pushy or touchy, she's hit a nerve or triggered something that you know is there, but you continue to get triggered. We're gonna work on that these next 5 days. Day one, man, it was amazing because day one we just kind of went through an exercise to kind of figure out when, right? When did this behavior become a way of life? Not so much a way of life, but when, to the best of your ability, when did you think about and going back and thinking about the question? When that first occurrence of when something hits you and you're like, oh man, that's something, you know, when your emotions were touched, when you felt betrayed, or your emotions, you were hurt because you exposed yourself, you were vulnerable. And I talk about mine, you know, and I'll let you know that it's real. That feeling is real, man. So yesterday we challenged the gentleman to go back and do that, and there were some exercises and processes about that. Right? Because listen, this thing is not for everybody. Like I said, these are for people, men that are in a relationship that keep bumping your head. You know, you've been to therapy and it's not working. You've been to other groups and it's not working, or you're kind of getting some momentum, but you keep getting it in your own way, right? And in your mind is, well, if I behave this way, then this will prevent this from happening. And really, it's something deeper than that, right? So, huh. So if you missed the homework assignment for day one, let me know, and you know, or the replay should be available still, where you can go back and check it out. But it's really about doing some really serious work around taking a look back into your life, right? And when you do that, find you a space where you're comfortable in, find you a space where you can really just do the work without any restrictions. It's a simple work, right? Who was it? What was it? When was it? Who, what, when? And then how? How do you remember who, what, when? Who, what, when? And then how do you remember your feelings that came from that? And how did you behave after? Right? Who, what, when? How did you behave? And how did you behave after? So today, right? Today we got some more work to do. And again, when you come in, please let me know where you're coming from. If you're comfortable with that, then DM me. Hey, Jeff, I was at day one or I'm at day two. And you're coming in from LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook right now, streaming in those areas. So let us know where you're coming from if you feel comfortable doing that. And please, 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 if there's an exercise that we ask and that I ask you to do, then do the exercise. Why do I want you to do the exercise? Man, because it's important. It's important to understand that to understand that you can make a difference, no matter how it's been for you, no matter where it keeps showing up as a difficult situation. You can make a difference, and we can do that difference together, right? So, real quick on the other days, and day one we talked about. So day two, the difference between silence, the difference between silence that protects peace, the difference between silence that protects peace and silence that kills connection. Protecting peace and killing connections. You say, well, what do you mean, John? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's one thing. Now, look, I don't want to sit here and pretend like I've got all the communication skills figured out and all the things I do work. But you can hear me when I say this, right? When you go silence, because sometimes it just hits a nerve, and for me, I would just kind of like react. And then when I would be reacting, I'm trying to grab the words that are coming out of my mouth because I don't want to. I don't, they're not going to serve any purpose of real kindness. They're not going to connect. Right? They're not going to be something that she wants to hear. How many of you have been in situations when you are trying to, and you're spotting, you're dealing? We're talking, for those of you coming in, we're talking about how silence can be used as an asset, and then also when it destroys connectivity. And I'm talking about now when I've been in that situation before I understood the power of change, and then I can make a difference in my life with the things we've been talking about. I would react, right? And that reaction would always end up in something that I wish I had never said, something I wish I had never done. And so that's kind of where we are when you're coming in. And Kimberly, how you doing? Thanks for dropping in. So anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about. We don't have all day today to spend with Jeff. I wish you did, but let's get busy. So what are we talking about here? Let me check and see what's going on here. Kimberly, hey, what's going on, my friend? Thanks for stopping in. So, men, gentlemen, and even ladies, right? Because this goes both ways. But we've kind of been talking to the men. So, when silence is used as wisdom to keep you from reacting, and when it keeps you from telling the truth, and that telling the truth is where the connectivity happens, right? When you're able to be vulnerable enough. And sometimes it's like, hey, I'm in this space. I don't know. I have these feelings. I'm really trying to sort them out. Can you help me? Sometimes it's about asking for help in the communication with your partner, right? Sometimes it's about admitting that you're lost and not sure. Sometimes it's about, hey, I'm about to act out in ways I'm not going to be proud of and have some consequences that aren't going to be good for either one of us. So all that's about raising and asking for help, man. But the old silent treatment, it's tough. It's a tough one to be in the relationship if you that's all you get. So if you're giving that to her, fellas, I'm challenging you to hear me when I'm talking to you about today. Because it's okay to go silent for a moment to collect your thoughts. It's okay to go silent for a moment to collect your thoughts, reposition what it is that you're going to say. And if you need some time, to ask for that time so you can kind of go and reset and then come back. I want all that stuff is what's really cool. That's what growth will do for you. That's what's being honest and truthful will do for you. Hey, I'm about to lose it. About to lose my mind up in here, like that song goes, right? That's you about to lose your mind up in here, then man, I'm gonna tell you something. I understand. Like I said, silence, and if I may, silence was something that at first I used to kind of make sure that I didn't say or do things that I would regret. And after a while, I learned how, you know, it just became a weapon of manipulation. So anybody out there is receiving the manipulation, or if you're exercising that part of your communication, man, I ask you to stop that, right? Or more importantly, how's it been working for you? If that's a two-part question, if you really want to have a relationship that matters, if you really want to be in a space where, you two are coming together and it's all working out, man. I mean, my wife and I, man, we are like this, right? We're getting ready to do this diet, and on this diet, it's like raw for a week, and we both like to eat, and so we're like, okay, well, what do we want to eat before? I'll get back to it here, but what do we want to eat before we start this thing, right? And she didn't say anything, and she said, I bet you don't know what it is, and of course, I guess what it was, and it's like, wow. And why am I telling you this story? Because the results of doing these things creates an amazing environment in your relationship, in your marriage, like mine. And it's not always that way, but man, when things line up and we speak from that language, that energy language, raw energy and connection, it's all worth it. So anyway, why did I say that? Yeah, just want you to know that this stuff is worth it if you really want to make a difference in a relationship that you're in. That's who I'm talking to. I'm just going to keep reminding throughout the conversation that we have over the next 5 days who this thing is really for. Someone that's really wanting to do some work. Because it's not sexy work. This conversation doesn't bring, it's not a sexy conversation, but it's a necessary conversation. It's a conversation that a lot of people don't want to hear or participate in, man, but I'm encouraging you to participate. When you drop in and out, drop a comment. When you're coming in, doing the replay, hit me up on the DMs, and let's stay in touch. And let's understand, man, that this is a real thing, and we do it. It becomes automatic, right? That behavior becomes an automatic process. We've created the pattern, right? It's set in tone. We think about it, it triggers. We create the pattern. We go in these viral circles. So aren't we ready to get out of those circles? Are we ready to do something different, man? Do something different, you get a different result. Do the same old thing, you get the same old stuff. So I get it. Silence can be wisdom. Yeah. But how often is that the case? Fellas, how often is that the case when you really are in this space? Man, I'm staying in this here because if we are not able to get beyond this particular piece in communication, if you're like Jeff, man, I'm okay, I'm really not that bad, or yeah, Jeff, wherever you are, we can't get past this piece, man. It's gonna be a tough journey because once we've closed off, then she closes off, right? Or she's pushing to get more out of you, right? And the more she pushes, the more frustrated you become. Right? And then eventually she becomes frustrated. And I always say this, and I know it to be true, is that if you're in a relationship that you have a powerful partner, and she is really dialed in to trying to show up and be all she can be for you, and you keep playing in this pool, right? Sooner or later, she's gonna get out and go into another pool, baby. Because you got to get past it. I don't care how much money you make, how many gifts you buy, or whatever else it is. If we are not able to surrender at this point in the game, man, it's over. And listen, if you are in a relationship and she's used to it and y'all are having a good time with it, and you know deep down inside that it's not right, then that's a whole another conversation. That's not who I'm talking to today. I'm gonna keep reminding you, who am I talking to? That young man and married, father, business owner, high level executive, wherever you might be in there, and you really want to make your relationship work and willing to do some work. Because this is just a conversation, right? This is I'm just kind of dropping some lines out here, see who's out here that's willing to do some work and who really understands, man, that there is a way out. And they don't have to keep repeating the same things over and over again. That's the definition of insanity, right? So anyway, what was I talking about, man? Here's one, and let me know if this is you. Well, Jeff, man, I go here because I just want to keep the peace. Well, that was kind of another example of what I've been talking about. You want to keep the peace. I get it, man. But how's that working for you? Right? What kind of peace are you really keeping? How's that working? I'm gonna tell you something. When you talk about keeping the peace, that's just the number one disguise that covers up your fear. Well, I'm keeping the peace and you're comfortable with it. No, you're afraid. I was afraid. I always like to put myself with you because this is my journey, man. I mean, I've lived this and have worked on it over for 30 years or more, right? But in first part, had some lessons, man, that I learned the hard way, right? Isolated, found myself in my first marriage, right, in a situation where this whole thing that we're talking about, the ability to stand in a difficult space and have a conversation and really be part of a conversation that really meant something. It was around the time then that we had to make a decision on the life of our 4-month-old daughter, right? And what to do about that and how we really felt about that. And man, I at that point I had gained some experience in being honest and upfront and all that, but I had stopped doing some things around that to stay humble, right? Because ego and pride shows up in my life, and I want to be strong. That old stinking thinking shows up still, right? Anyway, so we had to make a decision, man. We made the decision, and we terminated the pregnancy, and it was hard, man. It was hard to show up. It was hard to be a part of a mature conversation because I had gone back to communicating and using silence as kind of like a weapon to kind of keep myself protected, to kind of keep control of things at that point. This never goes away, fellas. Right? What we're talking about never goes away. It's something you have to work on. It's something that you have to make a commitment to. And we get better at it, but it never goes away. But anyway, man, long story short, in that situation, I was in pain and she was in pain. And I used silence as a strength, but it was a wedge. It was a wedge that eventually led to some other things, and I blew up that marriage. So, if you don't hear nothing else, those of you who don't want to do what I just shared, then man, listen up to me. Listen up, listen up, listen up. Let us show you how. The next exercise we have for you today, and let me make sure I find it for you. And it's just something over the next 24 hours. Here's what I want you to do. Tag every silence before you go quiet. One word, peace. There's actually two words, but I want you to start. And it's going to be a mental tag because, and I want you to, when you go away from this challenge and when you hear this challenge, this is just to start. For the next 24 hours, I want you to do. I want you to observe your behaviors, right? And then I want you to tag it. One word is it? Are you tagging? Are you exercising silence to maintain some peace until you can get to wherever you need to be able to communicate, get to wherever you need to be so that you can be active in the conversation, right? Being a loving and caring partner in the relationship, right? Is it that or is it avoidance? What am I asking you to do again? Something really simple, baby. Tag yourself. Every silence before you go quiet. Just observe it. Right? You say, Jeff, I ain't got time to do all. Yeah. Well, then do it anyway. Tag yourself. Are you in silence for peace or avoidance? And then ask you, did it build connection or distance? Because that's ultimately what happens here. When we play the game of silence, we play the game of distance, right? And the more silence we use, the more times we lean out instead of leaning in when she really needs you the most. And you really want to be there, but then your triggers have already taken control of even the strongest, even the most successful of men, right? This habit and this conditioning that we're talking about is just that, man. It's in control. But we want to be the disruptors. We've got 5 disruptors over these 5 days that we use with you to help disrupt a pattern that's been ingrained for a long time, pattern that has been running the show for a long time, and you realize that, man, there is something else. There's a better choice for you, and you want to do something about it. So, kind of get to the point of what are you willing to do, fellas? What are you really willing to do? Because the first day is about taking a look at yourself. I already told you who, where, and what, and how you behaved, and how you developed your character around that piece of it, right? Then today we talked about, so you realize that silence is part of your game, and you've admitted that, and you know that it's either truthfully used so that you can really gain a pause and respond appropriately rather than reacting, making things worse, and really yelling, right? If you get to that, right? I mean, those are some real experiences. Those are some real reactions. And yes, they can drive us crazy. We can drive them crazy. It's a real thing. So, or is it about the connection and control and using it as the strength? Which really is, we talked about, disconnects you from the whole thing. So the homework is over the next 24 hours, you're going to tag yourself, monitor, and watch how many times. I mean, it's not like, I mean, I don't know. It might be you might be with wifey all weekend or all day today, and then you get a chance to really do this. Or when you hear the recording and in the next 24 hours, whenever you hear it, I want you to really do that. Again, pay attention. Don't be surprised, man, if it's like, ooh, I didn't realize I did it that fast. Man, I didn't realize that happened. I didn't even see it coming. I mean, you're going to be able to start to see yourself. You're going to have outer body experience around this, right? You're going to start to be able to see yourself moving into the position where you go silent, moving into the position where you begin to isolate, moving into that position where now you're either using it to kind of control things and she's frustrated, but you're in control of things. Fill in the blanks, man. So tomorrow now, because there's a part of blame in this piece too. Right? You blaming her for saying the wrong thing or raising her voice at you or calling you a dumbass when you really may have been. You're blaming her now. Tomorrow we're going to really look at the blame piece. Right? No more blame. So day one, no more excuses. Right? Day two, really looking at how we manipulate silence and those around us. And then tomorrow, how to end the blame and lead your own life. Yeah, and there's a blame mechanism in this whole piece, man. So I ask you this. Woo. I wrote this down. The piece you have to hide to keep the peace isn't really peace at all, right? A piece you have to hide to keep isn't peace. It's a ceasefire. Ha! It's like throwing in the towel, man. It's not really keeping peace. It's not really building the relationship. It's not really helping yourself. Man, hey, listen, as we say goodbye to each other for today, when you go back through and listen to this, Kimberly, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you. And for those of you that catch the replay, really do some real quiet time with yourself. And this is that piece in your life when I want you to know that you are worth it. This is the piece in your life when I want you to know that the exercise does bring results. This is the opportunity for you to really become that leader that you know you are in all aspects of your life, man. Not just at work, not just in your business, not just in the community, but at home, baby. Bring that same power at home. And remind yourself that she deserves it, you deserve it. And whatever mistakes you've made in the past, man, that's in the past. You don't put that bag down. Drop that bag you've been dragging along. Hear me when I tell you, lean in, lean into it instead of leaning away. When you start going silent, you're automatically leaning away from it. You're building walls. Every moment of silence, the walls are being built. Every moment of silence, and the possibilities of the thing you don't want to happen becomes greater and greater. That thing where she's like had enough, right? When they get to, I said this the other week when one of the young lady I was working with, she said, Jeff, listen, when we get to the point where we have had enough, we are done. We are really done. So is that what you want in your relationship? No, it's not. I know it's not. Right? I told you how I ended up in my first marriage, man. One I thought would last forever. And I was in that space in that game of silence. Talk about the Game of Thrones, man. There's also a game of silence. If we really put it out there like that. It's time to stop playing the game of silence. It's time to understand the power that we have to change. It's time to understand that we deserve to be in a relationship where we can be vulnerable, where we can be trustful, where we can trust the person that's there, and then we can not use excuses for the things that we've used before and get to the real end of the story, which is that unhealed wound will always show up in disguises. What is your disguise today? Silence. Let's take that silence, set it down, and find a new way to communicate. All right, so listen, homework, I gave you that 24 hours. If you missed homework for day one, go back and watch the replay. I think it's still out there. And what I'm telling you from my heart is this: that all these little exercises that we're going to be talking about, please do them. Do yourself a favor, do them. And if you need some work, hit the VIP. You get more access to me. It's $47, right? And or DM me, Jeff. Here's what I've got going on. I'll respond to you. Stop carrying this struggle by yourself. Let's become a unit that understands the power of community and a village. Like we always say at Comeback King Enterprises, baby, our comebacks in our lives aren't meant for limitations. They are meant for a lifestyle that will build courage, a lifestyle that will build leadership, a lifestyle that will help us overcome all things created by our own fears. All right. So we will see y'all tomorrow, saying at 1 o'clock. Have a great day. Invite your friends, listen to the recordings, and I challenge you to do this, man. Just show up. Show up for yourself. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care now. Bye-bye.